What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dugout Coalition. We've got a very special guest, Dave Lawn. We're doing the Dave Lawn School of Pitching today, the Pitching Academy, baby. I call him the Godfather. He's the legend down at University of Arizona. I'm doing some really good things out there. Been around the block for a while, coached a lot of really good athletes, really good pitchers, and done a lot of really good things for the guys in this room. We all definitely look up to him as a mentor, and he's done so much for our careers, just on and off the field, as people, as players in general. Some great mound visits at Nevada in our days, which was hilarious, and maybe we'll get into that at the end. But it's been incredible to just watch his progression over the years, the amount of impact he's had in the athletes. And now these guys who are off at different colleges, universities, doing their thing and being able to mentor them still. So, Coach, it's great to have you, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It helps pass the time away during these crazy times and gets me away from watching the news. And it seems like every day there's some new thing that we got to worry about, but this certainly helps pass the time away.
Absolutely, man. It's been a weird situation. I was telling these guys, usually it takes like 25 texts and 10 calls during this time to reach any of you. And now it's like, hey, I get one text and it's like, boom, on it. We're ready to go. But
yeah,
it's crazy. I know when I went to San Diego a couple of weeks ago to go visit Ray, and we were watching the Little League World Series, like 2018 or something. Just passing time, man. Like I had no clue what to do. But it's been crazy. But I'm glad that we can all connect and just hopefully provide some inspiration to some people out there too during this time, for sure. But I'll kick it off, man. I just want to know your philosophy. Like, what's your philosophy, one, on pitching, and like, where did you develop that philosophy? Did you learn it from some of the coaches, or kind of where did you get into that?
Well, I always like to say that I was real lucky. I never had a bad coach. Whether I was in Little League or high school or junior college, or when I played at a four-year school, I felt like I always had good coaches. And I find myself every day when I'm out on the field taking or given to the player something that somebody gave to me. I think my philosophy on pitching and that sort of thing is just a compilation of 34 years of doing it. Full disclaimer, I can't believe they let me coach when I first started coaching, because I didn't know what I didn't know. But fortunately, I've been around a lot of great players and great bosses and coaches throughout the way. Even this year, with me changing my role at the University of Arizona, getting to be around another guy, Nate Yeskie, and how he does things. So, there's so many people that are responsible for how I do things. And a lot of it's the guys that are on this podcast right now who have said, nah, I don't like that, or I like this. And I think to kind of maybe segue into what my philosophy is, I think over the years, what it's really come down to is you kind of hyper personalize. Every guy has different needs. Every guy wants to do different things. And, being able to organize that and adapt to it and be willing to adapt to it, I think is real important. I think when you're providing something to the kids, when you're collaborating with the kids, when you're working with them and trying together to figure out a way to figure it out, I think you get a lot farther than in their development. You help them develop a lot farther by doing that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you mentioned the part of adapting. Now, obviously, this year you kind of changed roles. Nate came in, and you're able to learn from him as well. And just kind of, I'm sure you guys have had some amazing conversations about just how to get these guys to be on all the time. And I remember at Nevada, there were two things that were very, very, very evident with the pitching staff. And obviously, as pitchers and hitters, we don't spend a ton of time together. But I wanted to pick the pitchers' brains because you guys are essentially what the other teams are trying to do to us as hitters, and we can always learn from you guys. So I knew at least there it was pound guys in with fastballs. Let's get in on their
Yeah.
hands, 2 spots all day, like make them uncomfortable, which throw it in there, I'm getting sauced all day. Like the hands are broken. I hate it in there. And then
Yeah.
2, the confidence factor. You really empowered our pitchers to be confident. And the last week we talked a ton about leadership and just like how leadership works from the top down, how the coach has an opportunity to empower your athletes to take ownership and take leadership in their careers. Is that like part of your philosophy as well? Like, how do you inspire these guys to be confident on the mound? I'm sure these guys in here can attest to it, Wilkins and Bradshaw and a lot of these dudes, but like, how do you get them to take ownership and how do you get them to
Well,
so
I mean, I think it goes back to them coming to understand that you're trying to work with them. So then some trust develops, and 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 now more than ever, you know, with technology, you can actually really show them, you know, with the camera stuff and the Rapsodo and the TrackMan and that sort of thing. So, for example, you know, for years we would tell a guy, hey, you're getting around your slider, okay, and they understand what that means, they know what that means, but to correct it is a totally different thing. And now with Edgertronic cameras or even slow motion cameras that aren't as high tech as Edgertronic, combine it with the technology, you can actually show them. So if they make an adjustment with their wrist, they're going to get a slider that's spinning at a rate that's closer to major league quality. And then, you know, now, wow, you're like, man, you're really helping me. You know, the leadership thing, I think it has, I mean, I think just being yourself. I mean, you know, Wilk and Shaw could attest to it more, and then Cam helping us in the bullpen those 2 years at Nevada. You know, I think when you're not a screamer and a holler and a yeller and you're snapping and you're doing all that all the time, I think, you know, they respect that. And then when you do go off and you kind of say, hey, it's about to get real hectic here, so I need you tuned in to listen to me. I think that's powerful too. But most importantly, you know, in the 34 years we've been doing this, we've had 30 major leaguers, 17 pitchers, and I've learned way more from them than they've learned from me. I mean, I've had the best seat in the house of not only the guys who were major league quality, but who were really good pros or just really good college players. And I think the one time I might toot my horn to the group or to the players is say, look, there's a lot of ways to do things. There's a lot of ways to throw the curve. And there's probably a million people out there that can teach that better than me. But the one thing nobody can beat me on is being able to show you and articulate to you how good guys do it. And I think that really resonates with them. I mean, you know, people have resumes behind them, so they get instant credibility and all that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff is, I mean, whatever it is, right? I mean, awards and all that kind of stuff. I think, but I mean, kids want to know what good guys do. They see it on TV, you know, I mean, you just know they wear their pants the way their heroes wear their pants. They wear the same cleats or they wear the same glove and do all that kind of stuff. What we're trying to do is show them what good guys do to be good. And you guys know, being in with going through Dean and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it is really true. The way you do everything is the way you do anything, or the way you do anything is the way you do everything. If you're a donkey on campus, you're going to be a donkey in the locker room, and you're going to be a donkey on the field. And then basically you have no usable skill to help us win. Now, that doesn't mean we hate you. It doesn't mean we want to leave you to the side of the road. I mean, everybody's got something. Byler couldn't hit an inside fastball for a while. Then he learned how to do it, right? So everybody's got something. Somebody needs to learn how to throw more strikes, or spin a better breaking ball, or hold runners better, or catch ground balls better, or do whatever. I mean, everybody's got something. Sometimes people need to know and learn how to perform under pressure, and that takes time for some. Some just walk on campus and give me the ball, let's go. I can do it. That's kind of a long-winded answer.
No, it's very good, and I think I like the donkey statement. Like, if you're gonna be a donkey off, you're gonna be a donkey on, right? Like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And Dean, shout out to Dean, man. Those guys do an incredible job. I know they've impacted a lot of the programs in here, and obviously us in person was incredible to have them come in, and still talk with Dean a lot, man. Just pick his brain. He's freaking amazing energy. But I'm gonna open the floor, man. If you guys got any questions, whoever wants to, you can go ahead and unmute and let it rip.
CL.
Yes, Ray-Mac.
Hey, there's a lot of things you've done that I felt, exemplifies quality coaching, and I think you're one of the elite level guys out there. But one of the best things I think you do is you're able to jump a guy's case or address them, and then within minutes it's out the window. It's on to the next thing. What have you always been that? Has that been developed? What's helped you with that?
Well, I think, I learned that from Mike Gillespie when I was with him at USC. He would always say it's not personal, but when the time comes that you got to really get into a guy and dig on him, I think that you have to do that. I think there's also a fine line between torching a guy and then not circling back and giving some explanation. I mean, I think you always need to. And you also need to pick your spots. It's been a while since I played, but I remember what it was like to play. I remember what it was like to be the best guy. I remember what it was like to be the in-between guy. I remember what it was like to be the guy trying to get in there. And I remember the guy that was the worst guy. I mean, I've been all of those things, and I've been the injured guy. So I think, learning from guys like Mike Gillespie that, it's not personal, but, it's sometimes you got to push a button and get into a guy to make him perform better. And it takes time for some. Some always want to revert back to their old ways. And, if it's a hitter, taking too big a swing, 2-0. Yeah, I mean, he could take a big monster hack 2-0 in high school and hit 83 out of the yard. But now you're taking a big monster hack in college and the guy's dumping a slider in there. There's so many things to it, and there's so many guys that are, everybody's so different. Wilk knows the story of Avery Weems. It took us literally 18 months to finally figure out something that we already knew. And again, I kick myself to this day. He was highly regarded coming out of junior college. Plenty of stuff. Stuff was not the issue. He needed to work on himself, which, we pointed out to him and he resisted, and then finally he got it. He really still kind of struggled his senior year. And then one day Wilk and I said to him, look, you're going to throw a spike curveball and you're going to throw a cutter, and that's it. And he kind of looked at us and like, well, aren't we a little late in the game to be changing? And we said, hey, look, what do you got to lose? This isn't going how you want it to go. So we put him on the camera. We put him on Rapsodo. We started showing him the numbers. And then the first day out that he breaks out this cutter, against Sam Houston State, he gets 17 swing and misses. I mean, that's an unheard of number. Now it's college on college, and so there's guys that are, but you know, that's one example of kind of getting a guy to do what you want him to do. We used to try to trick him, and I knew all along, though, the thing is the reason why I kicked myself. I knew all along that curveball didn't play, you know, but sometimes his coaches were resistant to just totally tear a guy down and build him up from the ground up. I wish we'd have done that to him. So, but it was a harsh conversation. You know, he was getting to the point where I'm not going to get drafted. And we're like, okay, well, let's do something about it. And we did, and it worked, and he went in the 6th round. So, you know, he had to do it. He had to go out there and have confidence and that sort of stuff. But I mean, I see Shaw on there smiling a bit. I mean, he dealt with Avery too. And, you know, it just takes time for some guys.
Well, yeah, a lot of those guys, you got to find the teachable moment, and if they're not ready to accept that, or listen to the coaching, then they got to fail a little bit, I think. To want to come to that. So, no, that's awesome.
Wilkes, go ahead.
Coach Dave. So obviously you've had a huge amount of success over 30 plus years, and I just want to know, I already know, but how do you get the most out of your players, and how have you kind of adapted your coaching style over the years?
Well, you know, I mean, how to get the most out of them. I mean, I think initially when I started, it was my way or the highway. And then back in 2000, I was leaving Cal and going to USC, but I was coaching in the Cape in between that summer. And one of the things I wanted to do was, I wasn't, you know, the summer ball, as you guys all know, isn't, you know, you're not really coaching them. You know, you're not making wholesale changes. You're not doing certain things, but you are running a game and you're managing a game. And one of the things I didn't want to deal with all summer is, you know, college kids that were pretty set in their ways, were really good, thought they were really good because everybody's good that plays in the Cape, right? So, you know, trying to adapt to them rather than them adapting to me. So we did a lot of things to kind of make them comfortable, make them want to come to the ballpark and that sort of thing. You know, early work was available every day, but not mandatory. You had to take BP and infield, outfield every day, unless the trainer said you were hurt. Now, the reason why I said that was I said, Major League Scouts are coming to see you. So you gotta do this. We did things like in between days off. So you might play 5 games in a row and then there's a day off. And so when we would come back from a day off, the lineup by position would be posted for the next 5 days so that they knew how to prepare, especially the position players. We did things like if you hit 9th one day, you hit leadoff the next. If your parents were in town, provided they weren't there all summer, but if they were in town for 4, 5, 6 days or whatever, I needed to know because you were going to play every day. You guys all know how big a deal it is to have food in the dugout when you're part of Coach Johnson's program. That was mandatory. Food in the dugout. You got to have it, right? Nobody sat 2 days in a row. And on your day off, we would do everything we could to get you into the game so that at the very least, you could say you played in virtually every game. With the pitching, what we did was we set our rotation. We didn't jumble it to accommodate days off. So in other words, to get the number one back out there again. We just stuck with it. Nobody threw more than 2 days in a row. If you got up and got hot, that was considered an outing. You know, so there was this part where you come into the park and you know you're going to play every day. You love it. You may not be in the lineup, but you're playing somehow, some way. That didn't work. We went 3-11 to start, but we did finish 32-17 and won the championship. So I think it had a lot to do with keeping them engaged and keeping them going and working. Now, when you're dealing in a college setting, I think it's a very different thing. I think one of the great things we did at Nevada, and we continue to do at Arizona, is we make that fall period personal development. I mean, we're trying to get you better at what you do, and whatever it is that you're maybe is a weakness, let's make it better. Of course, once you evolve into January, February, and into the season, it's all about the team. But we still, you know, there's still always that personal development component. I think that's really important because, you know, it's not just kids these days. Okay, guys have always been selfish. They want what they want, and they want it now. Always. That's not a new thing, okay? But it's also what makes them good. Now, the real tough thing is getting them to do that within the framework of the team. Chief and Skip do it with hitters all the time. I mean, there's not one way to hit for us, but there's one approach. And so there may be a drill that a kid needs to do to be able to stick with that approach to hitting. With pitching, you know, it's different because you have varying arm slots, varying repertoires of types of pitches and all that kind of stuff. I think when they know and they look at the practice plan and it says, Johnny Rifle, this is what you're doing, and this is your focus thing today that you didn't decide on, you decided on with them, then man, it's just more powerful than jamming down their throat. There are things, of course, you have to jam. They have to hold runners. You know, you got to figure out a way to hold runners and help our catcher. You know, you have to field your position. You know, I mean, there's those types of things that you have to know, but, you know, really the baseball piece is so individualized. You know, I just think it all goes back to working with the guy and figuring out a way to figure it out. I hope that answered your question, Will, or part of it anyways. I think it answered the first part. What was the second part?
It was more about adapting. Like, how have you adapted, you know, over the last 30 years, you know, with your coaching style? But you answered that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was some fire, man. That's some fuego there, Lonnie. I think that's huge, being able to work with the guys. Like, at least coming from a player standpoint, the best coaches that I've ever had, and obviously you, Jay, Chief, Kurtanian, are some of the best ones that I've ever been able to play under. Cam in here as well, and even Ray for that half a year there or so, whatever it was. Like, you guys empowered us to work with us. Like, hey, what can we do together to get us better for the next day? It's not like you're going to do this and I'm going to tell you exactly what to do every single day, and this is your plan. You got to do the same T work as everybody else. Like, no, maybe I need something different than Johnny, or maybe than Shawshank, or maybe than you. Like, maybe we each need something different to set us up for success, right? Something that popped into my mind there is the preparation period. One, we're going through a weird situation right now, as we all know, of a lot of kids don't know what's going to happen going into the next year, going into the summer, high school kids, college kids. In summer baseball, if it goes through and plays, maybe the best summer baseball that's ever happened in the history of summer baseball. Because, I mean, you guys got to get your dudes some work. So you're going to have the top dogs, right? So you think about the preparation. a lot of people are probably down in the dumps right now. They're probably not in their best state of mind, dealing with a lot of things off the field. How can you stay prepared consistently when you have this time off? So you can take it almost as, hey, winter break. I go home for winter break for 4 weeks,
Yeah.
right? I go in the summer and I'm not playing summer ball. How do I stay
Yeah.
prepared mentally and physically to set myself up for success for not only the summer, but coming back into the fall to be a big part of my team?
Well, you know, we just had a team Zoom meeting last Friday, and our strength coach, Jim Crumpos, who, you know, Ray and Shawshank and Wilk know really well. You know, one of the things he tried to get across to them, and I mean, I looked at the timer on my phone because I was just listening. I wasn't doing it through the audio. He literally spoke for 10 minutes, and it was like 10 straight minutes of really good stuff. And the really important thing he did is he tried to explain to them, look, when you're in school, you're up in the morning, you're going to weights, you're eating breakfast, you're going to class, you're going to study hall, you're going to the field, you're eating lunch, you're going to practice, you're doing your thing, you're staying late, you're doing more. Maybe your group lifts after practice, you're eating dinner, you're banging out some homework, and before you know it, it's 11 o'clock at night. Now you got all this time. Okay, so everybody should keep lifting, keep running, keep throwing, keep doing all this. But the really important thing is everybody's got to get up in the morning. I mean, that's key, because you're not in summer ball mode. You're not in pro ball mode where you're playing much later and now you have, you know, I mean, you play in front of some crowds and you're a little gooned out after the game. You just don't go home and go to sleep. You know, you're up for a little while. You know, you're going to still need your sleep. So that might take your sleep till 11 or 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But it's a different clock. I think probably the common mistake I can only imagine that kids are doing out there is they're not getting up. You know, the worst thing they can do is kind of flip into that late night mode and then wake up late, and then you're just kind of sloughing around for an hour or two. Next thing you know, it's 2 or 3 o'clock, and now you got to get your day started. You know, you got to lift, you got to do all these kinds of things. So I think universally what the science tells us is that you got to get up. You get it, you know, you get your 8 hours and get up and get going and get moving. It's tough to be creative with the workout piece, though. I mean, gyms aren't open, you know, so, you know, what do you do? Well, I mean, Crumpos Jim has done some cool things and sent him some stuff on I think it's called isn't it the Bridge app or something? Is that what it is, guys? Yeah, where they can do some body weight stuff. Because here's the thing, when it starts back up, it's going to move really fast. You know, whether it be in June or in May or whenever that is, it's going to go fast. So if they aren't keeping their legs going, if they aren't keeping their arm going, they're going to spend a big part of the summer being hurt. And, you know, for us, knowing that our season is essentially done, I mean, that's what everybody's said, to now go and send guys out to summer. Yes, as you said, Austin, very, very important. But boy, we're going to be crossing our fingers that guys don't get dinged up and hurt in the summer.
Yeah, I think it's just a crazy situation, but I think like the biggest thing is trusting your players and trusting that they are going to get the work in. And like your coach said, I mean, getting up in the morning, like that's got to be the hardest thing in the world to do sometimes for a lot of
Yeah.
guys, especially at this level, and actually owning your morning too, getting it started and staying in that same routine that you've been in all spring. Like nothing should change, but in our mind, mentally, we always think, okay, well now it's like you instantly get kicked into summer mode. Or I don't
Yeah.
have to go to school. I don't have to do it. I have no responsibility. I can just
It's
slouch
all
around and play
online.
Fortnite. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's all online. You can do it. You know, I mean, there's deadlines with assignments and those sort of things, but they don't have that time crunch, which I think really makes them, you know, a lot more efficient with their time. I think just inherently they're now less efficient, or can be. Not all of them. I mean, there's guys that, you know, we're in constant contact with our players, and you know, you can tell when you call them at 12 o'clock if they still got, you know, sleepy seeds in their eyes, or if they've been up for a while.
Mm. It's really good info. Really good info for the people out there. Cam, go ahead, brother.
See, one thing I was curious about as it relates to the amateur level, so travel ball, high school, even kind of getting into college, is getting to dive fully into the recruiting piece. One thing that has become pretty apparent is just the way that secondary pitches are approached at the youth level, specifically a breaking ball versus a changeup. And it's almost seemed that some kids, as they've grown up, would be more willing to develop a second breaking ball versus a changeup. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious if you have specific thoughts on that, why that might be. Is that something that's just going to continue to evolve, or is it going to, like a lot of things, circle back to, you know, having the relevance and the importance of the changeup? Because I've always heard that when I heard Coach Savage speak at a convention, he always said coaches recruit breaking balls. And it was really interesting. I'd never heard it phrased that way, but you watch any game at the college level, you see those really elite pitchers always have great changeups. And I was just curious about that dynamic.
Yeah, well, first of all, Cam, congratulations on the national championship last year. I think I saw that somewhere recently, and you know how it is. We get caught up in our own world, and I failed to congratulate you. So congratulations. You know, yeah, you're right. Velocity catches our eyes and gets us to the kids' game, and then you're looking at the breaking ball, and I think, you know, the change is the key to Pandora's box. It's the game changer. The hitters in this round table right now will tell you the toughest pitch to hit is a really good change. You know, it's an arm saver from the standpoint of pitch count. It's the single best way to disrupt timing. I will say though that I think there are more guys now who have better changeups coming in, and I would be interested in hearing what Zach and Mike think, and the others. I think there's more guys with closer to ready-made changes now than ever before, because there was a period of time in like the 80s and the 90s and all that kind of stuff where, you know, breaking balls wreck your arm, you know, and you know, I got news for everybody out there. Most everybody knows this, but pitching hurts your arm. So, you know, if you're gonna do something with your wrist or something different, you know, it's breaking balls don't mess up your arm, okay? But I think now there are guys with more ready-made changes, and you know, there's different schools of thought on that pitch. It's not an easy pitch to develop. I mean, I think it takes a ton of work, and the guys here, you know, you guys have all heard me say, if you want to be good at pitching, practice pitching, and playing catch with the changeup is key. Having two different changeups, I believe, is key, particularly in college. I think perhaps less so in pro ball because it's such swing mode. I think at bats are controlled more, and guys are they take more pitches in college. So to have a true straight change to use in counts is where there's less than 2 strikes, I think is very valuable. And then to have a wipeout change is very valuable. I've never believed in, hey, we're going to go fast change for the first 2 weeks because we want to build up arm strength or save the arm. But I do believe in limiting, say, the use of the breaking ball in the first couple of weeks of the fall in an effort to develop the change. And that's a tough thing because the elite high school pitcher comes to you and he's throwing a low 80s change, which is very effective. But what it really is a kind of a lukewarm fastball in high school. You get that low 80s changeup or into the 70s changeup in college. Well, now it's super, super effective. And, the experimenting with grips. Wilk will remember last year, we went to the softball a lot at probably the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season last year. And, they had kind of resisted it leading up to that point. And I finally just said, look, we got to do this. This works. There's too many smart people out there that are saying, throw in the softball to design a pitch and enhance your pitch and further develop the pitch, particularly the changeup, but not exclusively, is really helpful. So after 3 days of them spraying it all over the place, they started getting it. And then we started taping the ball and started telling them to make it spin kind of on a certain, and then all of a sudden they're addicted to it. And now, they're fighting over who gets to use our 4 or 5 softballs that we had available to them. So, throw it, play catch with it. And, I think, that goes a long way to doing it. And, John's right. I mean, we see a guy with a curveball, which is kind of a unicorn in and of itself nowadays. We're like, whoa, wow, this guy can spin a curveball. And if it's at High Corbett Field, that pitch works because that pitch is going to get a ball in the air. And when it's 366 down the left field line and 349 down the right field line and 405 and 410 to the gaps, you want them hitting it in the air if they're going to touch it. And yeah, that's what I got, Cam.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick to hitting at Nevada rather than U of A. I don't know if I like those dimensions out there, man, but it is a beautiful park. You mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to hit on. Well, the first thing is the changeup. I think the changeup is just disgusting. But something I noticed in pro ball after my first year was as we started to climb up the ranks, they started to incorporate more left-on-left changeups. And it was very interesting because like the notion before was don't throw a left on left. It runs into the barrel. But I'll tell you what, you get a left-handed pitcher who throws an 88 to 92 mile per hour two-seamer, and then he throws a 76 to 78 mile per hour changeup that looks identical. It's nearly impossible to hit. It sucks.
Yeah.
And that's something that was interesting to me. I just wanted to kind of plug in there because I didn't see it in college hardly ever.
Yeah.
Right? But in pro ball, they started to do it.
Yeah.
And it was effective.
Well, what Wilkin Shaw will tell you is we made that part of our routine in terms of left change and getting to the glove side. And then this year, when Nate came on board, he was a big arm side change regardless. And that's attributed to a lot of things. You said it best, 88, 92 two-seamer, and then you go 76 mile an hour two-seam change. You know, what Rapsodo has told us and is confirmed is that hitters don't see side spin. They see backspin. They see a ball pop up. They see a little dot on the ball. They can see some things, right? But a change that has side spin and is going down and in to a left-hand hitter, left on left, is really, really effective. I think there was, just It was just an old school thinking, because why would that hold true if you could do the same with right? Well, we always kind of tend to think right-hand hitters like the ball out over the plate and like to hit the ball the middle of the field. And when they pull it, it's something that's a little lukewarm or cripple, and then they yank it over the left field wall, where left-handers tend to be a little more dead pull and that sort of thing. So you stay away from that pitch. I think that I mean, it's a really good point you bring up, because you know, you have the technology that backs it up, and then you just base it off what you saw, right? You're like, what? I mean, that's just something you've never seen, and probably never could really hit it at a high rate. You know, your batting average against the left-handed changeup was probably pretty low, but just like everybody else. So I think if people just are getting away from what was thought to be normal, or, you know, it's just, you know, a baseball rule of thumb. I mean, that kind of stuff's out the window now. Just like throwing up in the zone now. You know, nobody, you got to throw the ball low. Well, I still think at our level and everybody's level in this podcast, low is better. There's no question. You know, it's a long way from their eyes. They're not as strong, so they can't really do as much with it. But the value of elevating that fastball and throwing it to the top of the zone, especially when you're getting the right spin and ride and stuff that we didn't know just 3 years ago, we didn't know this, is very effective. Now, to say, well, you know, this kid should only throw the ball up in the zone. Well, I mean, that's still a skill he's got to acquire, just like throwing the ball down and away to his glove side, or just simply down the middle.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And you make a good point there. Shaw and Wilkes, what have you guys seen as far as like kids coming out of high school to your programs? I mean, you guys are both at different levels. Obviously, Dixie, I think, is moving up next year to Division I, but you guys have seen and recruited some pitchers at both levels who I'm sure are coming in with more change-ups. Like, what have you guys seen as far as that goes with the change-up and some of those pitches?
Well, I'll go. First, I was excited Coach Lon was coming. I just wanted to say thank you. I had the pleasure of playing for Coach Lon for a year and kind of being your right-hand guy for 4. So I constantly find myself kind of reverting back to my times with you and things that I've learned to help me out in the present. So I just wanted to say thanks for everything. But then talking about high school kids, change-ups, I think Coach Lon was right. A guy that's 89, 90 in high school has a change-up. I mean, he throws an 80-mile-an-hour changeup. That's almost giving the high school hitter a chance. So what you'll find a lot of times is guys will come in and they're kind of trying to trick them with the change. So they'll kind of subconsciously slow their bodies down, slow their arms down, because high school hitters can't really pick that up. But college hitters can see that very easily. So the first thing is just getting them to throw it consistently well, really good fastball arm speed, really good extension through their target. And we do a lot of stuff, and I've learned pretty much all of it from Coach Lon, but it's a long change up. So we'll go 65-foot fast change, force them to throw, because if you don't throw it with a fastball arm, it's not going to get there. Really good extension through your target, really feeling it rolling off the fingers, really loose. So those are a few things that I see that are pretty consistent with most all high school pitchers that have changeups, is they're going to try to slow it down a little bit and trick them a little bit. But I would agree with your comment that changeups are getting better, and I think it's a little bit attributed to just the vast majority of information that's out there. I mean, guys are scrolling through Twitter constantly seeing, hey, this is Steven Strasburg's changeup. This is, Clayton Kershaw's change grip. So there's just a lot more information out there that they're able to access and then, utilize it in their daily practices. So that's a good thing. Yeah, Wilkes, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, everything that I kind of do, it reverts back to, Coach Dave, and we kind of do the same thing. We like to throw our fastball changeup at 75 feet, and kind of the first 3 weeks, of individuals, it's fastball changeup. We're not throwing the breaking ball. We're not doing any of that, because I tell our guys, and I got it from Coach Dave, is if you want to be a starter at the Division I level or in college baseball, you have to have a changeup. You have to. You can't be fastball breaking ball. And every one of our starters had a changeup. So we just constantly work on that aspect every single day of our catch play. It's not we're just throwing fastballs in our catch play. It's no, you're going to throw 10 to 20 changeups. You're going to throw your off-speed pitches just as much as your fastball. That way you have really good command of all that. And I've kind of noticed even the incoming guys, our incoming guys, they do tend to baby the changeup a little bit. And one way that we kind of do that is I got from Higgy and Coach Dave throwing off the mound and throwing it, to your catcher at 90 feet and just practicing throwing it. A lot of guys baby it, and if you keep the same arm speed, it's going to have more bite, it's going to have more depth, and hitters aren't going to be able to pick that up. And then by going back to the technology standpoint, Coach Dave, you touched on it. I think guys now, all they want is the technology. They want Rapsodo. They want to know what their spin rate is, and we don't have that. But I kind of noticed that my time in Arizona, that's what everyone wanted, right away when we got the Rapsodo. And Coach Dave could kind of say the same thing. And Coach Dave, I just want to say, how have you changed your coaching aspect to the technology? How have you adopted different kind of strategies to not just make it based off the technology and getting the most out of them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they need the information, but I think they need it in smaller chunks. I think if it's Justin Verlander or Garrett Cole or somebody like that, who's really knows themselves, they're really what they are is they're the finished product. Okay, they understand counts. They understand how much of the plate to throw to based on the count. They understand pitching backwards. They understand all the things in the nuances of going to pitching. And Zach's right that they can get hung up on the technology at the expense of learning how to pitch. The one thing that hasn't changed through all of this new stuff, which is incredible stuff, is that the world is full of 95-mile-an-hour fastballs that can't see the field. Okay, and so. And the reason why they don't see the field is not just the strikes part, but it's also the other stuff. It's confidence. It's knowing the sign system with a runner at second, holding runners, fielding your position, knowing the bunties, knowing the first and thirds, knowing where to go when you back up, knowing how to properly warm up, take care of your arm, post throw, all this stuff, right? Knowing how to train, making the most out of your time that you're throwing, understanding that we're not throwing to warm up, we're warming up to throw, and that this is the biggest thing we do of the day is play catch and getting the most out of it. So, and then the other thing is they don't have the perspective. So Garrett Cole throws 95, right? But he's not throwing 95 in a bullpen. So he knows, for example, that at 89, his fastball spin rate is X. And he can equate that to what it really is at 95 because he knows what it is at 95. So we we don't have that yet, especially with new guys. We have to spend an incredible amount of time of just teaching them how to be dependable Division I college baseball players and use the technology to help them. Just to use Nate as an example, he has this persona being the driveline guy or the ranch guy or the this guy or the that guy or the Rapsodo or the TrackMan guy. I mean, it's not like he's bringing them in and he's sitting them down and going, hey, look, here's your readings for the day. This is where we need to improve. Now, if he thinks, just as we all do, the information can be beneficial, then we'll give it to him and apply it to him. I mean, the average exit velocity off the bat in the big leagues is 83 miles an hour. So I see clubs putting the radar gun and watching guys hit and I mean, off a BP or off a machine and measuring what the exit velocity is. Boy, that round you were 98.2, 3 out of the 4 swings or 5 out of the 6 swings. Well, how's that help? To me, that just makes a guy get out of his good swing, try to swing hard, and then, he's not using a swing that works in the game. The same can be applied when you throw a bullpen and you have Rapsodo or you're throwing on the main diamond and you got a guy hooked up to the TrackMan. I mean, I think that, again, you're talking about 10-year pros and we're trying to lump in 18, 19, 20-year-old with the same kind of thing. Pro ball's different. Everything's measured in the minor leagues now. And so now they have a perspective on what does his bullpen spin look like as opposed to what does his game spin look like. And so you can let me put it this way, and we can stop talking about this. Technology is a great servant. It's a terrible master. Mic drop. End it.
Legendary. Hey, that's why we call you the Godfather, Lon, because you were just epic and legendary with everything you do. Cam McMullen, go ahead and let it rip, brother.
So this question I would like to extend to CL, Wilk, and Schott. And Wilk, this was actually a conversation we had started last fall down in Phoenix when we were down at the Fall Classic, just kind of recruiting and evaluating. And I'd like to open it up to get some different perspectives. Is when you guys are out evaluating a pitcher, how do you choose to evaluate that specific pitcher? Is it top half in relation to lower half? Is it big picture? Do each of you choose to break it down even more thoroughly to whether it's arm circle or front side or whatever the case may be? And the second part of that question is, which mechanical, technical flaws do you think are worth potentially trying to work with a guy versus which you think are just too difficult to be able to develop the consistency of? Maybe it's a stab or a hook in the arm circle, or he flies up, whatever the case may be. I've always just been curious of how each pitching coach really puts stock in certain technical points versus others, and then what is just, there's too much for us to be able to try and tackle this.
Me first? Who? Go, Shaw.
I don't care. I can go. Well, first of all, I can't technically recruit, but I guess what I'm looking for when I'm watching like a high school arm or something, it's kind of a tricky question to answer because I just kind of started doing this. But I think the first thing is like, I'm looking at obviously you're looking at their stuff. What's their velocity? What's their breaking ball look like? But it's kind of an encompassing thing. What's their arm action look like? Okay. Does the arm move? I think you kind of develop an eye for what positions they're getting into, and if the arm's moving, if it's working. if it's smooth. I think if you take the stuff and if that's, sometimes you'll watch a kid and it's like, hey, this kid's hitting 89, but you could just, there's a 90, but it's just not usable. You know, he's so far behind, it's 89, but it's just not even, it's all over the place. The release point consistency is not there. He's stepping in a different spot. So it's just the delivery itself is very kind of inconsistent. He could light up the gun a little bit, but he's so far away from having a usable skill that's going to be able to help us at this level that's tough. And then you got a guy that's, 83, 84, but really has a good feel for what he's doing. Can spin a breaking ball, strike zone pressure, looks mound presence, all those things. And so you're kind of looking for the combination. And then, projectability. I mean, if this is a sophomore that's 5'5" and his brother's 6'4" and he's already 85, 86, probably a good chance he's going to grow a little bit and be more. But those are just some thoughts on that. Obviously, I'll let you guys kind of elaborate on that. And then the other question was, what was the other question, Cam?
The question I was curious about is which mechanical, technical, flaws do you think are more routinely corrected versus which are just too difficult to try and correct over time?
Yeah, that's you could go on for a while about that, but a couple thoughts. I think at first you determine if what they're doing currently is going to get them in a game and help us. So, I mean, some guys have kind of something, it's mechanical flaws are kind of, it's hard once they get to a Division I level, they're obviously doing something right. And they have a certain level of talent and a good enough delivery to pitch at this level. So you don't see a ton of flaws per se, but I look more for what could help them be better, or if they could be more efficient. And so first determining whether, hey, if they stay the way they are they going to help us? Are they going to get in a game? And if the answer is no, then obviously it's like, okay, we got to fix something. I think I find myself looking at, I mean, one thing that I think is kind of becoming more popular is, especially if a guy's super long on the backside with their arm. It's hard to change arm action. I never want to change arm action. But when you really break it down, when their front foot strikes, if their arm is in a funky position that's allowing them to not get into a consistent release point or get on top of the ball to where they're really pulling it down, sometimes we'll talk about ways to shortening the backside up and getting it up more compact on the back. I've never really worked with a guy on lengthening their arm. It's always shortening it. And I've actually done that with a few guys, and it gets them shorter on the back and longer on the front and getting on top of the ball and ripping it down instead of kind of getting long and laggy. It's helped a lot of guys. So that's one thing I think that's kind of simple. And then, I'll let you guys kind of build off that.
Go ahead, Will.
I mean, kind of what I look for, obviously everyone gravitates towards velo, but, when I'm watching, a kid pitch, it's more, is he competing out there? Can he pitch? The mound presence is a huge deal to me. Like, I don't want guys, we've all seen guys that have been anywhere from 91 to 94, but they don't have that mound presence. They don't have that attitude on the mound. So that's another thing that I really look for, when I'm recruiting. And that's one of the things that, the players on my pitching staff, they could attest to. It goes back to body language. What is their body language like on the mound? How do they walk? How do they carry themselves? So those are all things that I kind of look for, and is kind of a, an important piece to it. I don't want necessarily guys that throw, 90 to 92, but can't throw a breaking ball for a strike, because at the Division I level, that's going to get hit. So it's more about the pitchability part as well, and how they carry themselves. That I would say that's, one of the things that I look for in terms of mechanics. Do they have a fast arm? Are they going to be more injury prone if they stop their arm in front of their body? Is it loose? Are they staying on their backside a little more? Is their back knee going ahead of their toe, which is causing them to lose a little velocity? There's a lot of things that go into it. Even with the hips, are they opening up early with their front side? Those are all things that I kind of look at, and I kind of got from Coach Dave, and he could attest to that too as well. Go ahead, Coach Dave.
Yeah, I think when we have the opportunity, when we're out evaluating, it's kind of tough when we're up there in, say, Phoenix, and you're seeing this kind of club ball stuff. But I like to see how is he getting himself ready first. I think that says a lot. You're going to kind of find out how he's preparing himself out there in the outfield with the guy that he's warming up with. You're going to find out a lot about him. You're going to get a real good idea of his arm action, what his real arm action is, because, there's no real stress in the playing catch piece and that sort of thing. So you're going to have a real clear understanding of that. I think from a mechanical standpoint, two things that I look for. I'm really looking at the arm action. Is it just pretty clean and smooth? And I think we all have a kind of an idea what that is, but Cam, you mentioned stabbing and hooking and that sort of thing. Those are certainly red flags. But I mean, if you're looking at a guy as a potential 7th inning guy or 8th inning guy or something like that, that funk can be kind of useful as well. But by and large, we're looking at guys as potential starters, and then over time, while they're with us, they evolve into some sort of role. So I'm looking at arm action. The next thing delivery wise is the lower half. Like, is the direction, is all the energy going towards home plate? I'm looking at that back knee. If it's a right-hand hitter, as he gets into that load position, is his right knee almost pointing towards shortstop because he's rotated his hips in such a way, or can he do it? I mean, I learned from reading a book on Bill Belichick. He places a high emphasis on ankle flexion, and you can see what type of ankle flexion a guy has when he's warming up to go into the game and when he's out there pitching. Because if he has very good ankle flexion, then he's going to have the opportunity to rotate his hips in such a way that, and direct all his momentum and energy towards home plate. The really nasty, ugly type of arm action is really the one I don't know how you fix. I mean, like Shaw said, we never tell a guy to get longer. We always are trying to get a guy to go shorter. I do think it's a lot easier to get them shorter than people probably give credit for, because there's the heavier baseballs will help with that. The connection ball and that sort of thing will help clean up and smooth out some arm action issues. I find myself standing less behind home plate and more off to the side than ever before. I mean, I probably was sent to the game or went to the game because somebody told me the guy's throwing X, right? I want to see what he's like when he comes off the mound. I mean, to speak to what Wilkes said, is he a tough guy? I mean, all the best guys are tough guys, bottom line. And how do they interact with their teammates? Guys have heard me say, is their pee hot? I like that. You want to see a guy who's on fire out there, but is controlling it. And, is he reaching over the fence or between the fence to get a Gatorade from mommy? That's that's a red flag, man. That just speaks to his preparation. Why didn't he have that in his bag from the get-go? And if it's not there, then just drink out of the water hose. You know, the face is important. How they are with their teams is important. How they react to a bad call. How they react to when it's not going great. You guys all played and or coached the Jason Dietrich guy. I mean, there was nobody better at giving up a 3-run homer and looking like he was in the middle of a perfect game. I mean, that's what you want. You know, does the guy have the ability to keep the innings small? Does it snowball on him? I mean, if it snowballs on him in some meaningless summer league thing, it's going to snowball even worse in front of 7,800 people at High Corbett Field. So those are all things that you have to kind of look at and take into consideration. Some are better than others at it. And sometimes we just take guys off of pure talent and pure stuff and want to try to help them. I think, though, the one thing that probably will never change, if you're not throwing strikes in high school, probably not throwing many strikes in junior college, and you're probably not throwing many strikes in Division I baseball or college baseball. Strikes trump everything. And now with the radar guns with spin rate, you know, there might be a 84 mile an hour lefty or 85 mile an hour righty, but he's spinning that thing up there 2200. Well, you know, let's look at the delivery, see if there's any kind of energy leak. And if we can fix that, well, now he might pick up 2, 3, 4 ticks, and therefore the spin's up 2 or 3, 4 ticks. Now we got something. So, you know, with the radar guns now, excuse me, that have the spin on them, boy, that's super valuable.
Yeah, that's incredible information. Shaw, you got something? I was just going to say it's incredible
No,
information.
I just was going to say, I find myself saying this a lot, but you talk about a guy with their pee running hot. I always find myself saying Coach Lanism, you'd rather have to say whoa than giddy up. So
Yep.
I say that all the time. But yeah, I like that. I mean, if a guy simply just can't throw strikes in a high school game, that's a red flag. If negative things really impact the next thing and he's having trouble moving to the next pitch, that's a tough thing. But I like what you said about how they prepare. I mean, it's just you're kind of watching them and trying to get to a feel for their personality and how they go about their business and who they are, because that's ultimately, I mean, if you're there, they probably have the tools to compete at the next level, but it's the other stuff that's going to be determining whether they can really help you. So
yeah, I mean, a perfect example, we have a guy in our program right now. When I went and saw him one summer, I mean, it was like he rolled out of the car, did a few toe touches, you know, slammed down a Red Bull and pitched lousy. Now, this is a guy who ordinarily and typically is a strike thrower and all that kind of stuff. So you could see there where the preparation was directly responsible for the performance. I know this, like, preparing flawlessly doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful, but not preparing flawlessly pretty much guarantees you're not going to perform really well. And at the very least, you know that at least you have no regrets. You know, I mean, it's baseball, you know, it's tough to be awesome every single time you go out there. And we've rarely had a guy who was just awesome the whole time, except for maybe Gibby and Raymer. I mean, they were awesome for a whole year. They got a million hits. But everybody else had the little ebbs and flows of things. And you know, that's what I think. What do you got, Ray, Matt?
CL, one of the most awesome things I've ever heard came from you. You were talking about toughness, and you said you want us to can handle his emotions on the mound. go watch David Price with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
What World's 04?
No. This would have been when the Dodgers played the Red Sox in the series. I think that was Game 7. Remember, he came in relief in the 6th, in Game 6, and then he started the very next day. And yeah. So if every person out there, if you just want to break down mound presence, okay, just mound presence, go to the David Price game that he started against the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. Okay, so here's how the inning goes. Leadoff jack by David Freese, right? Isn't that who it was? Okay, walk, single. Well, we all know how this game's going, right? I mean, this is not going to be good. But you watch Price, never broke his routine, not once, never blinked. Next guy comes up, swings at the first pitch, double play. Manny Machado comes up with 2 outs and gets in an absolute knife fight with Price for what seemed like 10 or 12 pitches, okay? And it's ball 1, strike 1, ball 2, strike 2, ball 3, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, and then he makes a pitch, strikes him out, and just kind of pauses and does a little shimmy and walks right off the mound. And if there was ever a training video for how in the most incredible biggest moment in a baseball player's career. I mean, we're not talking about, the Cubs who hadn't won it in a million years. The Red Sox are real now, right? So not only does he have his own expectations, but he's got all of New England pulling for him. I mean, it doesn't matter if he throws a no-hitter in July. When he's walking from the Starbucks to the ballpark that day, they're going to say, nice game yesterday, but you got to do that in the World Series. So it's a whole nother level of pressure, and he just handled it. Like, it was unreal. And we showed it to our pitching staff all the time, just so they could really see what it meant to keep an inning small, or what mound presence is. A lot of times young guys think it's, bowing up or staring down the hitter, or, getting real jacked up. I mean, there's an appropriate time for that. But yeah, I mean, that's just like the best training tool that's out there, and it's on YouTube.
That is awesome. And I definitely can remember that too. It's incredible kind of how you control your emotions, how you control yourself, and how you control the things you respond to. To be respectful of everybody's time, we got about 5-6 minutes left. I want to do one last quick question I want everybody to answer. Just your 60-second synopsis. Like, and we'll start with you, Coach. What is one thing? I'm a high school athlete, or I'm a junior college athlete, or I'm a college athlete and I want to go play pro ball. Like, whether I want to go to college or pro, what is one thing I can do right now to prepare for the next level?
So you're saying if I want from college to pro?
Just say, let's go high school into college. I'm a high school kid and I want to get to the next level. That's all I talk about. What do I need to do right now? What's one thing that I could do to increase my chances of going to the next level?
Well, strength. And I mean, that goes without saying. The one thing that we heard from people with our club this year in particular was how physical we looked, and that strength piece. And young guys tend to get a little intimidated when they go into a college weight room and that sort of thing. So they kind of pull back. And I just think strength is a really big part of things. And then the last thing I would say to that is be patient with your development. I mean, it's hard. You know, they think when they were 13 and they played with the 15-year-olds, oh, I'm playing up, or I'm 15 and I'm playing with the 17-year-olds, I'm playing up. Well, you're 18 years old and you got to pitch to Austin Byler, who's 22. That's playing up. Okay. you got guys with over 1,000 college plate appearances, and you know, you all of a sudden everything, you know, the guy's not swinging at everything. So understand that, you know, be patient with your development and make changes before you have to.
Love it. Cam, what about you? What are you looking for?
Just to expand a little bit on what CL just said, flexibility. You know, just even at our level, last year going on the run that we had, we played about 60 games in the span of a high school season. And so if you're unable to take care of your body and put yourself in a position for longevity, it's not a matter of if there will be injuries, it's just when. So make sure that the strength is obviously such a huge piece, but make sure it's functional strength so you can actually move, so you can actually still perform on the field. Yoga is great. Things like Pilates are great. Just overall functional strength and flexibility.
I love that. And for those of you thinking that Pilates is a joke, let me tell you one thing. You go into Pilates, you're going to get your freaking butt whooped, and it's going to be a damn good workout. And I'm fired up because Pilates kicked my butt, dude. It was so hard. And I wish I would have done it more in high school and in college. I just got lazy with that. I should have done more of that. I just wanted to get big, man. Everybody's like, hey, get big, get big. Okay, let me go bench press and get some big biceps during spring season because spring break. Shawshank, what do you got for me, brother?
Just to kind of maybe touch on something that hasn't been, I think one thing, I mean, obviously the physical development, but I think kind of train yourself to get in a frame of mind of controlling the controllables in every situation. Okay. What can you control about this, and focus 100% on that, and don't give anything else oxygen. I think that's really helpful. The guys that are able to do that quickly are able to improve quicker. They're able to perform better, and they're able to understand themselves and have a self-awareness to really improve quicker. Let's see. I think, and just another thing, I just kind of use a Coach Lawism: get away from who you were and build on who you are. I like that one.
That's another mic drop on the beat, man. Wow, we got to get a rap sesh with me and Ray one of these times, man. I keep saying it, but it's going to happen, bro. We're going to have Coach Johnson come in with his orange juice, and we're going to have him doing it. Yeah, we're going to have him in the background doing his moves. Wilkins, what do you got for me?
Obviously, the physical part's really important, but I also think developing a routine. You know, we go back to, starting your morning right. I think that's really, really important. I also think studying other players. You know, you see all these games on MLB Network. You know, there's all these games on YouTube. And I think it's a good opportunity for younger guys to really study those guys. Reading a lot of books. You know, finding who you are and developing the mental game aspect. I think that's all, you know, really beneficial right now. A lot of downtime. So reading books, studying other players, developing a routine. It's huge.
And right now, there's no better time to start to build that into your habits. Don't just sit around and be lazy. Like, still got to take action. You still got to move. Like we can't be complacent with where we are right now. No matter how good the first couple months went in high school or college or pro ball or whatever you had going to spring training, you cannot be complacent right now. It's the enemy of success. Ray Mack, what do you got? Bring the house down.
Simply put, you're trying to make it to college, you got to have the grades. Grades are going to close more doors than they're going to open. Dominate the grades, make sure you have what we need. Hardest thing to look at is you see a guy that's got all the tools and you can't get him into school. So keep the grades up. Coach Lon, it's been awesome. So great to see you again.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Absolutely epic, Lon. And we might have to we're going to save a seat for you at every round table.
Yeah, let's go catching next. Let's talk
Beautiful.
catching next.
Yeah.
Down. I'm going to
You got to get Brock on. Get Brock on, Ray Mack, and we'll do some catching.
I'm in. We'll get all
catching
you
on
guys
Wednesday. Hey, we're
all right.
Catching
Love
on
it.
Wednesday. Let's make it happen. I love it. Lon, it was
Great
an honor,
seeing you.
brother. And
Good seeing you guys.
To be honest, you've
Thanks,
been
CL.
an inspiration to all of us, man. Everybody in this room, we all have had the opportunity
Thanks,
to play
guys.
a coach under you or with you, man. So it's been huge.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for
Appreciate the
thanks
kind
for having
words.
on.
Say hi to
You
Aunt
bet.
Stace.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on just a second. Hang on just a sec. Aunt Stacy crushing the chocolate chip cookie thing.
Oh,
Oh man.
Aunt Stacy.
legendary.
Making chocolate chip cookies. Say hi to
Oh,
everybody.
If you got room for one, I'm coming down the road. I'll be on the I-10 in about 10 minutes.
Better make another batch. Easy.
Yeah. Shawshank's coming from Nebraska, baby. Wilkins, you're close. All right, fellas. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Great
Have a
job.
good day.
Yeah,
Take
have a
it
great
easy,
day.
All
guys.
right, later.
Peace.
Right.